For those of you that don't know me, my name is Sarah Rodriguez, and I'm the CEO and counsel for Titan Title. We do have a couple of our Titans here. We have Peter Parente, as well as Andrea Bedingfield from our Woodbridge office. But you're not here to hear about us. You are here to hear about this amazing goat, who, by the way, is the birthday boy today. Happy birthday, Mr. J.
Thank you so much.
Really quickly, I want to introduce him. He is sort of a rookie in the real estate industry. Mr. J. Caputo was a professional chef starting at the age of 19. Not only has he had amazing, successful restaurants, but he has had the honor of receiving the prestigious James Beard Award semifinalist nominations on 5 occasions. And as somebody who really enjoys to eat, I can tell you that that is a very prestigious award. Not only that, but, he became a licensed realtor in what, 2019?
Correct.
And he has been the recipient of, Rookie of the Year, Rising Star, top producers from multiple publications. So we are really excited to have him here today. And today our mastermind topic is going to be our listings. Rules of the game. If you want to ask a question, go ahead and have your hand up. Otherwise, go ahead and put it on the chat, and I will be more than happy to go ahead and read the question for you. We are here to learn. This is a mastermind. So although I will be asking Jay a lot of questions, this is for you guys. So whatever questions you have, he is being kind enough to share with all of us everything that he has. So Jay, tell us just very briefly a little bit about you, your story, and it was really interesting to hear how you decided to become a realtor. So just really quickly, tell me a little bit about your backstory.
Well, thank you so much for having me. I really appreciate it. The opportunity here to talk with everybody is so awesome. So I was a professional chef for 24 years. I dropped out of college, kind of floundered in college, and got into the restaurant business, worked all over the country, had some really high highs, some pretty low lows, but navigated it pretty well. I moved to DC in 2017, and I kind of was just over it. I was not a great dad when I was a chef because I was gone all the time, and so my wife and I decided that it would be better if we switched careers. And so I didn't want to go back to college. I needed a career that had a very low bar of entry, which real estate does. It's pretty easy to get your real estate license, but the trick is, how do you produce? So you're not getting a paycheck anymore or anything like that. So I had to learn how to actually help people buy and sell homes. And that it was tricky, but we kind of figured it out as pretty quickly.
So I'm even more impressed than I was before. The fact of the matter that not only have you been in the industry since 2019, but that you moved into the area in 2017. So it's not like you're, a local Virginian, because we hear so many excuses around, here where people are like, well, I need to get a new sphere, or I need to do any of these things. So I love the fact that you were like, you know what? I'm risking everything to have a better quality of life. And I do want to talk a little bit about that later. But, and you were willing to go all in. Now, let's start with the question that everybody has. How are you currently navigating the market conditions, right? And are there any specific challenges or opportunities that you've encountered in this?
Well, I think we all ran into the challenges of 2023, right? That was definitely my hardest year in business. And, so many excuses about interest rates. But what we found was that people's reasons for moving didn't change, right? What slowed down was people's that kind of want to move. Those people kind of slowed down, but people's real reasons, whether they were downsizing or upsizing or changing jobs, switching careers, whatever it was, those people still had to make a move. And so What we tried to do is let people know that it was okay to move at 7.5% interest rates, or it was okay to sell your house from a 2.75% rate and go buy at a 7% rate. Um, and we just had to communicate better and more clearly, very specifically for each and every client. And so I actually opened a real estate brokerage partnered with Side in 2023, and we named the brokerage Brushstroke Properties. And the reason for that is I believe that every transaction is a blank canvas. And so over the course of the communication and relationship with the client, we're kind of painting this picture that is perfect and specific for that individual. And by the end of it, it should be a beautiful painting. And so every client's different, every buyer's different, every seller's different, you know, every market is different. And so it's incumbent upon the real estate agent to kind of navigate that for the client and help them succeed, whatever that looks like for them.
I love that you talked about communication because, you know, for a type of industry where I feel like communicating is so important and how you communicate, a lot of people actually don't, you know how to communicate, or they do it depending on how they're feeling. I know that you have a team. Do you have like, a specific way that you train your team members, or a specific way that you are, having this conversation? Because whether we like it or not, I think in this industry right now with the market, with the high interest rates, the low inventory, the, thing about the commissions, a lot of realtors are feeling very, they have a lack of confidence on approaching certain conversations. So how do you take that lack of confidence, or maybe those stories that we have in our own heads that, oh my God, they're going to respond to us this way? And how do you train your team members on being more confident in having these conversations?
Great question. So I think the most important thing that we all can have is self-confidence, right? So you have to, we're all very different, and it's important to lean into who you are, I believe. So I don't want to train somebody to be like me, because no one else I know was a chef for 24 years and, has been working since they were 13 years old. And so it's important to know who you are. And this is how I actually got my jump start in real estate. It's important to know who you are, be confident in that, and then project that out to your clients in whatever way is comfortable for you. So going back to what I was saying, so when I first got into real estate, I was a chef trying to sell homes, and I was a career changer. I had been a chef my entire adult life. I had long hair. I mean, I was the chef, and um, I had no confidence in what I was doing. I actually interviewed with a large real estate team in Northern Virginia, like the number one team in Northern Virginia. And I went into the office and I was petrified. I was 45 years old or something. And I was petrified when I walked in the office because I didn't know what the hell I was doing. And I had no confidence. And then after a few months of not doing any transactions and being like, oh crap, like how am I going to feed my family? I had to get really introspective, and I was like, but what is it about Jay that people are drawn to? What is it that I'm good at? Because I can't go and cook all these potential clients dinner, right? Maybe I can do that after they close a deal, but I'm not inviting them all over to my house. And so how do I get them to decide to work with me? And so I started thinking about the restaurant business. What is it that I love? The hospitality, taking care of people, helping people achieve what they want. When people came to my restaurant, we had this menu, and it was a really high-end restaurant, like very fancy. And we kind of use the menu as a guideline, but if somebody wanted to alter something on the menu or change a dish or something, they were paying the money, and that's what they wanted to eat. And so I would allow them to alter the dish. And a lot of chefs and restaurants are like, no, this is the menu. You cannot change my dish. And I was quite the opposite. And so I started to lean into that, like, how can I help you mentality in real estate, and I was doing a lot of open houses, and I was listening to people and trying to help them accomplish their goals. And then once that mind shift happened for me, that's when things really took off. And so I think I did like 11 million my first year, and then like 23 million my second year, and things kind of skyrocketed from there. Because I one, I my mindset shifted, and two, I immersed myself in the business. Like, confidence comes from knowledge, right? If you're BSing people nonstop and you don't know the market, you don't know the houses you're trying to sell, you don't know, you don't listen to people and understand what they're trying to do, you're never going to have that true self-confidence. And so it was important to me. I was like showing rentals for people. People would ask, like, can you host an open house? Can you show a rental? Can you go to this home inspection? I was like, yes, yes, yes. And I would do it all for free because I needed the knowledge. And now I'm super confident when I'm at a home inspection or when I'm showing somebody a home, that I can help them understand what the issues might be with the house. And, I just have the confidence because I have the knowledge, because I immerse myself in real estate, and it's a passion. I try really hard for my clients.
I love that. I mean, I don't know about you guys, but there's so many gold nuggets here. So if Andrea and Peter can start writing some of these down in the chat for people, I mean, project who you are. What is it about you that people are attracted to? And then lean on that. What is it that you're good at? How can you help, people? I think a lot of the times, what I've noticed in the real estate industry is that we all get into this mindset of there's thousands of us, thousands of realtors or lenders or title companies. And it's like, what shifts you aside? And then confidence comes from knowledge. So immerse yourself in what you're doing and become the best at it. I absolutely love that. Now, the more you speak, the more I become impressed, right? Because again, into the area in 2017, lean into real estate full time 2019. And you're mostly now a listing agent, even with your incredible numbers. So that's a really big shift for people. Most of the times they were just looking for buyers and seeing what they can get, but you're owning the listing agent market. So where do you typically source your properties for listings, or what's your niche? What are your specific strategies to get those listings?
So I like the word niche a lot, right? So I think it's important to, in the beginning, you kind of spray and pray, right? So you're like, I need a deal. I'm going to go look for buyers. I'm going to go to Woodbridge, and I'm going to go to Stafford and Herndon. And, you're kind of all over the place and do whatever you can do to find a deal. For me, as after I got some deals done, my focus got more narrow, more narrow, more narrow, more narrow. And now I'm like hyper focused on McLean. And by default, I do deals in Vienna and Arlington, Falls Church, and I still do deals all over the place. But I personally, what I really like to do is work with move up buyers. So people going from condos, townhouses, single family to new construction, that kind of thing. And I also really like to work with builders. And so I spend a large amount of my time trying to source teardowns for builders, and farming a specific neighborhood in McLean. And so that's where I'm seeing the most success right now. But as I got more specific, I was using certain techniques. So prospecting for listings. So whether it was circle prospecting the neighborhood by calling, door knocking, mailing, Facebook marketing to people. I kind of try and do this like all out assault on areas that I'm trying to work in. And so creating custom audiences on Facebook and then marketing to those people, and also mailing the same people, door knocking those people, calling those people. You end up finding success. We do this a lot for buyers who are like, hey, I want to live in, Delray, Alexandria. Okay, well, there's no houses for sale, so I'm gonna ninja assault these people and try and find a property for them, an off-market property or somebody who's willing to sell. And when you do that, you kind of end up finding success where you may originally you weren't looking, but once you start actually looking, you can find it. But to go ahead.
Sorry, let me ask you this, because I know that, like you said, a lot of the times when people are starting, they're kind of like, a spray approach, right? They're trying everything. How did you find what was your sweet spot in your areas, right? Because we had a mastermind last month, and we talked about how some of these top producers, in order to stay consistent, they track everything. Did you use tracking and started seeing where you were doing your best work, or where you were kind of aligning to, or did you just one day, threw a pin and said, hey, this is the area where I'm going to start, ninja attacking all of these things?
So when I first started, I was based in Ashburn. And while I liked that, I was more interested in closer to DC, inside the Beltway. Just personally, that's where I wanted to work. I found that the price point was a little higher. And I'm a city guy. I wanted to go to the restaurants and, stuff like that. So I wanted to work closer to DC. And so I got really specific in what I was doing, who I was communicating with, the agents that were working in that area. So I was taking them out to lunch. I was, kind of, putting myself in their hip pocket and trying to learn from them because they were clearly better at it than I was at the time, and maybe still are. And I was trying to learn as much as I could about the market. And so, you know, I started hosting open houses in McLean and Arlington, and um, I find that when you're first in the business, you really don't know what the opportunities are. You're trying to sell a house, right? You're trying to get a client, and the longer I've been in the business, the more I'm realizing, like, oh, somebody actually sold a huge piece of land to that developer, and they built 25 houses there. Like, that's cool. I'd love to do that. Or I shot a video the other day. I was driving on Cottage Street in Vienna, and I used to drive by there to go to my office every day, and I would drive by and be like, "Oh, wow, look at that big house! Somebody bought that house, tore it down, built a new house. Wow, it would be really cool if I could do that one day. I wish I could do that now, but I didn't have the knowledge, and so but that was what I wanted to do. And so I crafted a plan to do that and to get into that market. And so I started hosting open houses and higher end properties. And then one of the agents, I find that really high end listing agents don't really want to host their own open houses. And so I was able to host a new construction open house for a builder in Arlington. It was $2.5 million. The house had been on the market for 300 days when I first started hosting it. And this was in January of 2020. So we all know what happened after that, right? So they shut open houses down. So I hosted it for probably 3 or 4 weeks. I started meeting some potential clients. They shut open houses down, but when they reopened it in May, guess what I did? I went straight back to that house and started hosting it again. And so I ended up selling the house. I also had to get good at hosting open houses, right? So that would be one of my pearls. Like, it doesn't matter what you do, you have to get good at it in order to see results. You have to be consistent, you have to be good at it to see results. And so I got really good at hosting open houses. I ended up finding a client who I thought was going to buy the house I was standing in. It turns out they bought the same model on a different lot in McLean rather than Arlington. And so it was a $2.5 million sale. They had a $1.8 million house to sell, but I still hadn't sold the house that I was hosting. So I went back and I continued to host that open house. Now we're probably 400 days on the market. And I met a client, somebody who came in and told me that they had an agent. And I was like, oh, do you really? Do you have a signed buyer broker agreement? And they said, well, no, we don't. And so I said, well, you don't have an agent, right? And they said, oh yeah, I guess we don't. I said, well, I can help you. If this is what you want, I can help you. And long story short, they bought the house. They had another house to sell. It was 1.2 million in Alexandria. And then I just kept meeting clients. And so I have sourced probably, I think it's now like $27 million in real estate sales to that specific house that I hosted in 2020.
That's incredible. So some of the nuggets that I heard was approach your life with curiosity. Drive around, open your eyes, and see the opportunities that maybe are hidden there. And once you see an opportunity of something that interests you, draft a plan. And then follow up, follow up, follow up. I mean, the mere fact that you're saying that you sourced $27 million out of that one house that took you over 100 days to sell is pretty incredible. I think a lot of
It's
people.
still going too.
Yeah.
I'm sorry to interrupt, but I mean, that 27 million is going to continue to grow because those people became clients for life. And so they're referring people to me, you know, all the time. And they don't refer people to me with, they wouldn't refer people to me if I didn't follow up with them. I didn't invite them to events. I didn't have a plan for how I follow up with past clients and sphere. So these people are now friends. And so now they will refer me to anybody.
And I want to go into that. I also want to go into, tell us in, very short, how to host a good open house, because I think that you are right. I think people, but we do have a question. Do you market on YouTube, and do you have a YouTube link?
I do have a YouTube link. Maybe Stavros can pop that in the chat. That is, to get better at YouTube is one of my huge goals for 2024. So that is top of my 2024 business plan. So I have my one big thing. I have my 1-3-5. So one of the three things is get great at YouTube. So
I love that.
I think we're okay at YouTube now.
I'm not even, I have like maybe 2 videos on YouTube, and that's my one thing for 2024 is also becoming great at YouTube. So let's go back a little bit to your conversation. And how do you host a good open house? Give us maybe like 3 tips on how you host a good open house.
Great question. So I have I got so good at it, Keller Williams was having me teach the open house courses at the brokerage, but couple things. One, you have to be present, right? So you have to want to be there. You have to prepare for it. And then you have to lead with curiosity. So I feel like, well, going back to the first, you have to be present, right? So if you're sitting in the kitchen on your phone during an open house and not asking questions and not trying to be helpful for people, you're going to find zero success, right? If all you're doing is saying, please sign in, let me know if you have any questions, blah, 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 you will find zero success, and then you'll complain that open houses don't work. I can tell you that I've probably sold, at least half of I've probably done 150 million since I've been in the business. Bet you 75 million of that is from open houses. But right now it's kind of shifting to referrals more than open house. But the second thing is prepare, right? So you have to know the house that you're hosting. If you just show up 10 minutes before the open house and put a couple of signs out, you're doing a disservice not only to yourself, but to the listing agent and the homeowner. You are representing the seller when you're hosting an open house. And so you need to be knowledgeable about that house, right? So it's important to show up early, to walk the house. If you haven't already seen the house, which you should go a few days prior, schedule a showing, go through the house, look at it like a buyer might look at it. And that's one of the kind of pearls here is try and walk the house like a buyer. What are they going to see in the house? What are the questions they're going to have? What are the objections they're going to have? And try and handle those objections in your mind prior to showing up to the open house. Because if you show up and because every house has a little bit of, a lot of houses have something funky about them. And so you want to be able to handle that objection before those people come so they don't catch you off guard. And then the lead with curiosity. One of the questions, I have two questions I ask people at every single person who comes in an open house. The first is at the beginning when they get there. What has you out searching for a home right now or today, right? They're going to tell you, if you lead with curiosity, and I try and be humorous. So one of the things I'll say is, moving sucks. Why are you moving? Because moving does suck, right? Packing all your crap up and moving and then unpacking it again. I mean, it's a pain in the butt. So they have to have a reason, right? I'm trying to find their pain point. I'm trying to find something that we have in common. So if they have kids, I have a son. If they have a new career, oh, I had a new career. I'm trying to find something to build rapport because you have to do it quickly, right? You might have a couple of minutes, and you might have less than a minute to communicate with these people. It depends on how busy the open house is. And so I asked them, what has you out looking for a home today? And then when they're finished, I asked them, do you want to buy it? And that whether they say yes or no informs the next set of questions I'll ask, right? So if you don't ask people if they want to buy it, how are you going to know? Right? What if they want to buy it and they don't have an agent? The fastest way to a paycheck for a real estate agent is to host an open house and sell that open house to somebody who's unrepresented, right? You host the open house, you write a contract, you get paid in 30 days or less, right? That's the easiest path to a paycheck. And so why not try and do that? And if you don't ask people if they want to buy it, how are you going to know? And if they say no, well, that informs a whole other round of questions, right? So
I love
that's how
that.
I got good at hosting open houses.
I mean, I think in life itself, if you're not present, then, and most, a lot of people are not present. They're just going through the motions and doing what they need to do. Preparing for it is a job. If you're going to be there, if you're there to say no to something else, prepare for it and make the best of it. And when you said, I love the fact that when you're leading with curiosity, you're also leading with empathy, right? Because you're disarming people if you're asking them, okay, moving is a pain in the butt. Why are you willing to do that? Because that way they're not feeling like you're there to sell them. You're
That's
saying,
right.
hey, we understand this is a difficult or, not super pleasant transaction sometimes, but obviously there's some big why there. So it connects to their why. I love that.
The
Now,
other thing, I'm sorry, one
go
more
ahead.
thing. So in preparing for the open house, um, I feel like you're walking the house, you notice things about the home, um, and so I tell my team, like, you're adding tools to your tool belt, right? And when people come in, you want to be able to offer them something that they can't find online, right? So you need like some tidbits about the house that they can't find on Zillow or Redfin or wherever they're looking. And so that way you sound knowledgeable, right? You sound like the expert. And but you don't verbally vomit on these people like that when they walk in. You're not like, hey, it's a 4-bedroom, 3-bathroom house and it has a really cool thing in the basement. You ask them questions, and then when it's time, you pull that tool out. Like a carpenter doesn't slap all their tools on the table and go, all right, let's make something. Like they pull them out when they need them. And so that's how I feel realtors should be.
I love that. I think that's fantastic. Now, you also, I've seen a theme and a pattern throughout this whole thing where you're really good about following up, which a lot of people are not. I think that's one of the kryptonites in the real estate industry that I've been able to tell. So, do you have any systems or, maybe platforms that have worked for you for following up or to help follow up?
Yes. So that goes back to one of your earlier questions about tracking and stuff like that. And I wish I had been as good at tracking in the beginning as I am now. I wish somebody had really kind of impressed that upon me. Because the better you get at knowing your numbers, knowing how many calls it takes for you to create a lead or set an appointment, know how many follow-ups it takes to get a response, stuff like that can really inform your activities on a daily basis. But the follow-up is everything in this business, right? It's really easy to get a lead. You want to get 100 leads today, run an ad on Facebook, you'll get 100 leads in a week probably. They, 99 of them might suck, but one of them could be the pearl. And so it's how you follow up, how frequently you follow up, the cadence with which you follow up that turns leads into potential clients, clients into transactions, and then referral partners for life, right? So what the best CRM to use is whatever CRM you're going to use. However, I have found over the years that Follow Up Boss is my favorite. And so Side, my brokerage partner, they offer Follow Up Boss as part of our platform, which I love. And so, but having the CRM isn't good enough, right? You have to actually use the CRM. Like you have to, and so what I do every day, I have it in my calendar. So my phone calendar, there's today, 12:15, have coffee with an industry leader, right? So I schedule this stuff for me to do every week, every day, every week. And so, but at 6:15 in the morning every day, I wake up, I go through Follow Up Boss, see what new leads, what tasks I have to do for the day, and then I start planning that day based upon what Follow Up Boss tells me to do. And I am indiscriminate with what I do. I just do what Follow Up Boss tells me to do because I've already put the tasks into the system, and I know I have to text so-and-so or call so-and-so or send an email to so-and-so or schedule my email blast for Thursdays. I do weekend updates for all the people in my database, and it's like restaurants and restaurant openings and fun events to do in the DMV over the weekend. It takes me about 20 minutes to do it. I send it out to 11,000 people every week. And sometimes I get people who unsubscribe. But for the most part,
Happens to the best of us.
Yeah. For the most part, I get about 35% open rate and 15% engagement. And so I'm just trying to create raging fans. But so following up involves a ridiculous amount of silence. So people just don't respond, right? I could send 500 emails and get zero response, but I tell our team, you never know when your message is going to resonate with someone, right? So you can't make somebody buy a house because you need a paycheck. And so it's important to do the work on a daily basis, to be there top of mind for these people when it's time for them to make a move. So we send a lot of direct mail, and I brought some to show you guys. Like, I have stacks of envelopes that are stamped and stamped. So, and ready for me to write addresses. I handwrite the addresses on the envelopes and mail them. And I can't tell you how many times people have called me and said, I've had your letter for 8 months and now it's time for me to move. So, I called you, and you just never know. And so I try and stay top of mind through the use of Follow Up Boss to get in front of people. So
I love that. And, a lot of the times when you're talking about the newsletter, like I always tell, we do a lot of marketing classes, videos. It's funny that you're talking about how you're kind of like in your niche and what you're doing, because Peter from our company does classes on this. He talks about, hey, be specific, geo-target, like, how are you like really going against certain people? And then how do you move those mailers and that information directly to them? But I love the fact we always tell people, do a newsletter, and it's not just about real estate. Talk about things that you love and be authentic. So like for me, I'm not on your newsletter. I get 10,000 emails a day. I like to eat. So I'm about to go and sign myself up so that I can know what kind of new restaurants are coming up. You already had me at restaurants. Now, okay, so follow up is use a CRM, and then regardless of what your mood is, I love the fact that you approach this as a business. And then what your money-making activities are. And then that, there are certain activities that directly correlate to you being able to get that appointment and get that paycheck. So you double down on that and make sure that you're creating your schedule around that. So that's great. Now let's talk about, it seems like you have a lot of pearls around maintaining and building relationships with clients and prospects. We talked a little bit about, these building a relationship with prospect, with being present, preparing, and lead with curiosity. But how do you maintain that relationship with your clients? Because I think a lot of the times we see realtors bringing in a lot of business, but they send the newsletters, they do all this passive stuff, but they don't get a lot of repeat business. Whereas our top producers always really work their sphere. So can you tell me a little bit more about how you work your actual client database?
Sure. So again, I wish somebody had told me to do this like intentionally 5 years ago, but I use a lot of the Ninja selling system tools. So 8 and 8s are amazing. And I don't recall how many touches Ninja tells you to do with your sphere, but I'm attempting to make about 76 interactions with people in my sphere annually. So I send 52 weekend updates. I do 12 monthly newsletters. I do um, 6 personalized emails. I do 6 texts and 2 calls. And so I think to a certain extent, it might be overkill, but I don't care. I'd rather be in front of them more than less. And it's so easy to send a weekend update. It's like literally 15 minutes out of my Wednesday afternoon. So I will set the email up on Wednesday afternoon. It goes out Thursday morning at 6 a.m. So it's in their inbox when they wake up. And it also, if they're interested in it, I send it on Thursdays because it's a Friday to Sunday kind of what's happening. So it gives them a day to digest it. And so it's so easy and it's on my calendar. I also am very beholden to my calendar. So I set my calendar up according to things that I'm capable of doing. So I constantly am tweaking it because if I look at my calendar and I don't do what it tells me to do, it's not important enough for me to do it. And so I have to tweak it, right? So I look at it every week or every 2 weeks and say, did I actually make those 30 calls at 9:30 in the morning, Monday, Wednesday, and Friday? If it's not important enough for me to do that, well, then I change that out of my calendar. What am I doing at that time where I told myself I was going to make 30 phone calls? And so I change my calendar according to what I actually do. And so on Wednesday afternoon at 2 p.m., that's when I set up my email. And that's what I do. I sit down and I do the email.
I love so much of this, Jay. Number one, one of my 2024 things is I'm a huge person where I'm like, I'm gonna do this and I'm gonna do that and I'm gonna do this. And then it's like, oh my gosh, I didn't even give myself time to eat or stretch my legs or use the restroom. So one of my 2024 goals is to be a little more realistic with my schedule. I love what you're saying is that a lot of people will set this, arbitrary schedule and not necessarily tweak it and see, is it working for me? Is the activity not working for me? Or is it just about, the timing of things? I have 2 questions for you. And again, guys, if you have any questions for Jay, don't let me monopolize this whole thing. You feel free to put it in the chat and we'll ask him. Number 1, what do your weekend update look like? And number 2, and this is a bigger conversation, from talking to a lot of my realtor friends, we all know that making calls is what gets you paid. Nobody likes making these calls. So I want to hear from you, you went from being a chef, and being in a restaurant, which is not, you're not forward facing with consumers all the time, to having to make phone calls. So that had to be a mindset adjustment. I want to talk a little bit about that. But tell me first, really quickly, what's in your weekend updates?
Usually there's a paragraph or two like, hey, starting the new year off right, hope you had a great blah blah blah. Some paragraph that is important to me. It's like kind of what I'm thinking about, and then just a list of links to websites of stuff I find interesting. So whether it's a Festival of Lights in DC, or there's a something cool at the JFK Center, so, whatever it is, restaurant openings, or the best fried chicken sandwich I've had in the area, or or something cool happening at a brewery in Leesburg, or a downtown festival in Bethesda. I try and spray the area a little bit because I work in DC, Maryland, Virginia. We do about 75-80% of our business in Virginia, 15% in DC, and 5 in Maryland. And so that's kind of how I scheduled or I set up the newsletter. I guess I would like to do more business in Maryland, but I need help with that. Like, I can't personally go everywhere, and I don't want to. So I just try and stay specific. And then what was the second part of the question?
Well, the second part of the question is the hardest one, I think, which is a lot of
the calls.
Yeah, people know they have to make calls, but they don't want to. So what do you do in order to get yourself in the mind frame and make sure that you are making these calls?
I would say, I'm kind of harsh on myself. I'm like, tough shit. Get yourself together and pick up the phone. You think people don't want to hear from you, but that's in your mind, right? So if the people know you by name, you should be able to call them and just say, hey, what's up? How's everything? Anything I can do to help? Be a resource for people, right? If somebody somebody texted me the other day and was like, hey, do you have somebody that cleans upholstery? Well, yeah, I do. And so I shared that with them. And I was texting people yesterday. I started texting people yesterday, and I did A's and B's in my phone book. So again, I'm indiscriminate. I just go straight down the line, and you can't call 500 people in a day, so I just go straight down the line. And I texted one of my past clients yesterday and said, hey, I, I, I know you know this, but I do most of my business based on referrals. Do you know anybody who's thinking of buying or selling this year? I'd be happy to help them. I really appreciate any guidance you can get. Oh, and by the way, do you need any help with your house? How's it going? Blah, blah, blah. And she said, I have somebody who's moving to Roanoke. Do you know anybody down there? And we're going to be doing some work on our house in the summer. I will reach back out in May to see if you have a contractor for A, B, and C. And so it was a great conversation. And the reality is you just have to do the work, just close your mind, pick up the phone, whether it's text, call, Facebook messaging, whatever it is, do it. And the reality is you just have to make calls. And so there's a lot of people out there who will say, well, cold calling doesn't work, open houses don't work, farming doesn't work, direct mail doesn't work, circle prospecting doesn't work. The reality is it all works if you're good at it and you're consistent. So the real estate lead generation really hasn't changed that much over the years. We've gotten more efficient at it through the use of technology, but the reality is you have to connect with people. And so whatever it is you do to lead gen, you have to get great at it, right? So if you're going to call and you're not getting results from call, if you make 500 calls and you get 0 appointments, you suck at calling. Get better at calling, right? Learn your scripts, attend some role play classes, and communicate with people. Try your scripts in the mirror. Try talking at a higher tone. Make sure that your head is up when you're calling, when you're on the phone, because when your chin is down, your voice is lower, right? So there's little tricks that you can do to get better at this stuff. So you're seeing results. And I have found that if you do the work, you track the results, you can figure out what the problem is, right? If you make 500 calls and get 0 appointments, you suck at calling. So figure out how to get better at it. And if you host 10 open houses and you get no potential client, I am here to tell you that you can sell a lot of real estate through hosting open houses. Somebody in the chat said, what's the best time to call? The best time to call is whenever you're going to call. However, we find that Mondays and Tuesdays aren't amazing days to call. So I call my sphere on those days and I don't cold call on those days. And so usually between 9 and 12 in the morning, or 8 and 12 in the morning, but you also have to give yourself a chance and 1 or 2 days a week call in the afternoon. So 4 to 6, 4 to 7, and circle back through the people that you did not answer when you called, because you might be calling them at a time of day that doesn't work for them. So whatever it is, pick up the phone. It doesn't really matter when you call, it matters that you call.
I love that. Now, we do have more questions, but Stravos, if you can go ahead and put Jay's information in there, including his Instagram handle or all the social media stuff, so that you guys can follow him. Jay the Relentless, that says it all in his name. He is relentless, but that is why, he's become the GOAT in such a short amount of time. Now, you keep saying that you're beholden to your calendar. So one of the questions that we got was, how do you adjust your day if one of those calls is a hot lead and they want to start a search right now?
Yeah, so that is a great problem to have, right? And so I leave 3 hours in the afternoon to do that are open real estate activities. So usually it's 2 to 5. That's like, these are open hours for me to show houses, to work for clients, to go on appointments. If I don't have an appointment set, well, then I'm going to work on something else, but I'm still doing activities. And so usually, again, in the beginning, when somebody is like, I want to buy a house now, you're like, oh my God, go, go, go. And the reality is that if you have nothing else to do, let's put it this way. I think scarcity creates demand. So if you say, I will absolutely get on this for you later today, right now I have to do A, B, and C, they'll appreciate that. If you have nothing else to do, like, you're showing people that you have no business. And so it's important to me to be busy, or at least appear busy, even in the beginning. So the example is like Popeye's fried chicken sandwich, right? So it's not the best fried chicken sandwich out there, but they run out every day because they don't make enough. The scarcity creates their own demand. And you can do the same thing in real estate. Like, I'm so busy today, I can meet with you on Friday. Do you have time on Friday or Saturday? But if you're like, yeah, shit, I'll be at your house in 20 minutes, like, you're showing people that you don't have anything else to do.
I love that. That's incredible. Now, it seems like a part of your business plan is to stay informed about the market trends. How do you stay informed about market trends and changes? And are there any resources or tools that you think are valuable that our attendees could look into?
Yeah, so Inman, I read Inman every morning, and it's worth $200 a year or something to subscribe. And then, excuse me, I have Mortgage News Daily open on my laptop. It just stays open on my laptop, and every morning it's part of what I do. So I'll go to Follow Up Boss and see what I have to do for that day. I will look at Mortgage News Daily to see if anything kind of changed in the interest rate environment or mortgage environment. I tell people all the time, I am not a lender, so I can give you some really broad strokes. But if you want something specific, here, call my 2, trusted lenders, or one of these 5 people. But it's important to be knowledgeable about what's going on. And so I also do a ton of work in McLean, and I try and stay in the reasonable luxury market. So I can tell you virtually every house that's for sale in McLean right now, that's north of $1 million. and I can tell you where it is. I know which ones went under contract because I look at it every single day. And so I also, because I work with builders, I know how many new construction houses are on the market. I know which ones are built, which ones are not built, and which ones are under construction and which ones are pre-construction. And so when I'm communicating with potential clients or potential, buyers or sellers, I have the information. So, if you want to be good at your job and you want to sound good, you have to immerse yourself in it. And so, you have to know your market. It's just simple as that. So I go out and see houses. We go preview homes. We ask people if we can shoot videos in their houses, stuff like that. So I'm marketing that I'm seeing houses, that I'm busy, that I'm actually doing real estate activities, but I'm also doing that for my own knowledge. So I am the expert because, everybody thinks they're an expert in real estate. Every attorney, every, teacher, I'm on Zillow, I know A, B, and C. Well, guess what? I do this for a living.
Yeah.
I am the expert. You are a hobbyist. And so it's important to have more knowledge than them.
I love that. Really quick, we have a question, and I think this is a question that a lot of our newer agents have. What if by telling them that you're busy, or whether you're really busy or not, and you schedule it to show a house at a later time or date, they end up losing that house they wanted to view, maybe put an offer on it, and they put the blame on you. How do you deal with that?
So it's important to understand the situation, right? So if I tell my buyers that if they're online looking at a house, and they think it's perfect for them, then probably 25 other people say the exact same thing. And so our decisions and actions I don't have one rule for how I do virtually anything, right? If that's the situation and the house is in high demand, I'm going to drop everything and go, try and create the transaction. And I'm going to explain to them that this is a high demand house and you're going to have to do A, B, and C in order to get it. So I would say if it's a new prospect and the house is in high demand, you want to let them know that you are, let me push off a couple of appointments. Let me see if I can change some appointments so I can go meet you at the house at 3:00. That kind of thing. So yeah, like revenue generating activities are the most important. You don't want to, seem so busy that you miss out on a deal, but you also don't want to be like
Too available.
That's right.
Yeah. I love, I think the biggest one, well, I have a lot of takeaways from this, but one of the biggest takeaway is that you're very intentional with your communication. Whether you are, detailing to them like, hey, I do have a business. This is a business and I run it as a business. In certain circumstances, if there really truly is like an urgency or demand, I will meet you, but you also have to be ready and meet me with all of these things. Right. And I love that because that's also putting the onus on them. It's not just like, I'm going to drop everything and go do this. It's like, okay, if we're both going to drop and rearrange our schedule, so you also have to come with this and this and this so we can make it happen. And I love the fact that you're kind of like making them your partners in this. So that's incredible. We have 5 minutes left. I want you to tell us a little bit about, it seems like you have, a pretty detailed calendar. You started talking about it, right? Like you got up, you get up in the morning. Tell me a little bit about your day, how it, do you meditate? Do you have breakfast? Do you work out? What do you do throughout the day? And how do you time block? Like, what are those things that you time block for so that you can maybe give some ideas on some of the realtors that are sitting here?
Yeah, so every day is pretty much blocked out. So I wake up at 5:30 every day. I kind of take a breath in the morning for about 10 minutes, and whether that's sitting quietly in the dark or meditating or something like that. Every day is a little bit different, but I like to breathe deeply and get myself set. I then, none of my family is awake at that time. So then I start working in peace. I will check emails. I will look at the market, make sure I know if something's come on or something's gone off. Um, and then I also schedule personal time. So when my son wakes up, it's family time. And he goes to school at 8:30 every morning, and so I want to make sure I get, if he wakes up at 7 or 7:30, I want to get some time with him before he goes to school. And then sometimes I will leave early to go to work, um, but I will start my actual work day every day by 9 o'clock at the latest. Um, I block out time for calls, for follow up, for responding to emails, stuff like that. So lead gen has to be a part of your day every single day that you work. Doesn't matter if you work 5 days a week or 3 days a week or one day a week. If you're part time or full time, whatever, lead gen has to be a huge part of your day. I block out time for social media, and I'm very intentional about social media. So I do a lot of LCM, like comment message, to communicate with people. And then I have open real estate activities in the afternoon. I have time to stuff envelopes, or every day is a little bit different. But then I also shut it down at 4:30 so I can spend time with my family until about 7. Then I will check, get back to work. If there's nothing else to do, I will spend the time with my family. Son goes to bed at 8:30, and then I will finish off my day by recapping the day and seeing if I accomplish my goals for the day. So if I didn't accomplish everything, then I put it on my calendar for the next day, because it was important enough for me to want to do it. It should be, if I didn't get to it, it should be important enough to put it on the calendar again tomorrow. So
I love it. And then for the last question, what do you think is your biggest way of leveraging yourself? We can't all do everything. We need to leverage ourselves. What's your biggest secret on being able to leverage yourself so that you can get to your most important and biggest, high use activities?
So figure out what you like to do and what you're good at, and whatever you're not good at, hire somebody for. So whether it's transaction coordination or assistant work, stuff like that. Once you get some transactions, allocate some of the money to spend in providing support for you, because you can't be all things to all people. And if you think you can, you're wrong.
I love that. And who's part of your dream team?
Ooh, that's a great question. I think I have, Stavros is so great. He's amazing for me. Will Wired is my broker. He's amazing. Dream team are people who really want to do what they say they're going to do and want to grow, get better, collaborate. So it doesn't matter. It's not a specific person. It's a type of person.
I love it. Well, you guys, please again help me wish the Go Jay Caputo a happy birthday for today. Thank you so much for your time. I know that we interrupted something in your calendar for you to be able to give us this. This is being recorded. As a reminder, we are doing a CE Virginia contracts class in our Fairfax office on the 16th from 10 to noon. Come find out what's going on in the Virginia contracts world. Thank you so much for your time, everybody. Jay, thank you so much. We really appreciate you. Have a wonderful
Thank
rest of
you.
your day. Have a wonderful rest of your day. Have a good one, guys.
Take
Bye.
care. Thank you.